Well, this week the FCC will vote on new rules rolling back Obama-era net neutrality rules.
Now, this could have a huge impact on the way you use the internet. And to break it down for us today is Sydney Tetreault from the Women Tech Council and Phil Winley from the BYU Computer Science Department. So, okay, first, what is net neutrality and why does the FCC want to do away with it?
So net neutrality is the idea that networks, the internet specifically, and the people who run it, shouldn't discriminate on what information is transmitted over the network based on the source of the information, the destination of the information, what the content of the information is, or even the kind of equipment you have connected to the network. So, for example, they can't promote one kind of content like, say, NBC over ABC or something else like that.
I mean, you talk about this could really impact people. And Sydney, we've talked a lot about net neutrality and that essentially the user has no control over how fast their internet comes to them, and that the companies could ultimately throttle that back if they just say, we want to, right?
That's right. So when you think about impact to consumer, right, the real impact comes into how you get equal access. So take like apps on your phone. You could have one provider that says, hey, Facebook is subsidizing a package, and now on this phone, for free, you get access to Facebook. Your other apps don't work because you don't have the data packages there. And so what you start doing is limiting how people actually reach content. And the types where in the world today, which is how it was designed from the very beginning in the 1960s, is it was designed so that we can have equal access to all of those sites. I can get Netflix and Hulu and Facebook all equally with the same access to how that content comes to me.
So is this all a foregone conclusion that essentially the FCC will do away with this?
I think it's a foregone conclusion that the FCC is going to vote. The breakdown is 3 to 2, right? There's 5 FCC commissioners. That probably isn't the end. It'll probably be litigated in the courts after that, and twice before the courts have favored on the side of network neutrality. So it likely won't be the end.
What should people do, Sydney, if people feel very strongly about this one way or the other? How can you make your voice heard? Is it a matter of calling your local congressman? Do you call up the FCC and say, hey, I've got a complaint or whatever? What should you do?
Yeah, we've got to do both. This does impact consumers, right? It will increase both your prices and your ability to get that content in different ways from home and on your device. For sure, you should call any of your legislatures. You need to reach them. And we were talking earlier, you should consider funding some of the organizations that are helping provide that conversation. There were a couple we were talking about earlier.
EFF.org, Electronic Frontier Foundation, for example, is fighting this fight.
If I'm not mistaken, Verizon, I believe it was, that came out and said, you know, we will always offer net neutrality no matter what happens. But who are the big companies behind this push? I mean, like, who's really wanting this to...
Well, so AT&T, Comcast, I mean, Verizon says they will always offer it, but of course, once the rules are off, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, exactly, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But these companies are really wanting net neutrality to go away.
Oh, yeah.
Because they will profit from it.
That's right.
That's right. Like you think about today of all of our unlimited bandwidth plans, right? It's driven because you and I can access anything. We can go to our YouTube app, we can go to our Facebook app, our Instagram app, and we get all of that in equal access and in equal speeds. And so now all of a sudden, you give other people, your ISP providers, your data connection, your home, your work, they all get to choose what that comes, and that creates risk for all of us, and that's what we don't want, right? We like having access to that because it allows us to be more informed in the choices we want to be informed in.
Because you're making the choice, not the company.
Exactly.
You don't want to leave it in their hands, guys. Thanks, Phil and Sydney. We'll leave it there. A lot going on with net neutrality. Appreciate this topic of conversation as we've talked about it.